Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing one of my most popular cookie recipes, my lemon thyme shortbread. So we're going to begin with 1 cup of butter and a half cup of granulated sugar, and then we are just going to whisk those together until they are light and fluffy. And if you are familiar with the texture of shortbread, you know that it is tender and melts in your mouth, and that is because of the high butter content and the low sugar content. And then we're going to add in about a tablespoon of lemon zest along with 1 teaspoon of fresh thyme leaves. Now, if your garden is anything like mine, our thyme has just run amok and we have so much of it, so this is a great way to use up some of that thyme in a sweet treat. And it really enhances the lemon flavor because thyme tends to also have some lemony notes itself. And then we're going to add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And once again, we are going to mix that all together just until everything is incorporated. And traditionally, shortbread didn't have anything added in to flavor it. It just had the buttery texture, so this is a little bit unconventional. Now we are going to add in 2.5 cups of flour, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now this recipe has a high amount of flour because this will actually help the cookies maintain their shape, and the butter actually coats the flour to prevent gluten from developing to keep that tender structure. And then just to bring the dough together, we are going to add 1 to 2 tablespoons of lemon juice just until the dough comes together when you squeeze it between your fingers. And then we are going to form it into a disc and then wrap it up in some saran wrap, and we are going to refrigerate it for at least an hour before rolling it out on a cleaned and then floured surface. You always want to clean whatever surface you are using to roll out your cookie dough. So now we will begin rolling out our dough. This dough can be a little bit crumbly, and that's why I put in the lemon juice to make sure that it will stay together as you try to roll it. But the more and more that you work it and the more that it warms up, as the butter warms up, it will be easier to roll out. So then I like to use this cute little flower cookie cutter. You can use whichever shape you would like. And I roll the dough a little bit thinner than 1/4 inch because I like the cookies to be a little bit more crisp. And so you just want to do that as many times as you can, and you want to try to get out as many cookies as you can using the cookie cutter. I usually get around 30 cookies out of this batch, which is pretty good. And once again, if you make them thicker or thinner, you'll get a different number. So now we are going to pop these into the oven at 350 degrees. I put 12 on each cookie tray and I evenly space them out. They don't need to have a lot of room since they don't spread out. And then halfway through the bake, which is at about the 8th minute, because we're going to bake them for about 16 or until they have a nice little bit of golden brown around the edges, I just flip them around and then I switch the one on the top and the one on the bottom. And then we are just going to pull these out of the oven after 16 minutes, and we are going to let them cool while we get started on the lemon glaze. So to get started on the glaze, I start out with about 2 cups of powdered sugar, and then I just add in lemon juice until the glaze becomes thick enough that you can draw an S with it as it falls off of the whisk. So I add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. So for a little bit of the history on shortbread cookies, they actually evolved from a 12th century biscuit bread, and they became a shortbread as the leavener was exchanged for butter to make the texture more tender, and it became an expensive treat since butter was so expensive. So now once our cookies are cooled and our glaze is ready, I just use a little offset spatula to spread the glaze just on top of the cookies, and I do about 6 at a time, and then I go in with little pieces of thyme just to finish off the cookies. And this is definitely the most time-consuming part. You don't have to put them on piece by piece, you could definitely mix it into the glaze. I just prefer how it looks, so I take the time to put each piece of thyme individually on top of the cookies. Thank you so much for watching. As always, the recipe will be in the description below, as well as on my website, bakingwithbrie.com. Feel free to leave a comment below if you have any suggestions for future videos, and make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any in the future. Bye!